What do we really know about Luigi Mangione? That question has haunted the public consciousness since December 4th, 2024, when Brian Thompson, the 50-year-old CEO of UnitedHealthcare, was gunned down in the heart of Midtown Manhattan. The murder occurred just steps away from the New York Hilton Midtown, where Thompson was set to deliver a keynote speech at an investor conference. The shocking event unraveled as a mysterious and polarizing tale, one that continues to captivate the nation. Thompson had been a towering figure in the healthcare industry. Rising through the ranks at UnitedHealthcare over 2 decades, he had gained a reputation as a sharp strategist with a deep understanding of the market. Under his leadership, the company had reached unprecedented levels of profitability, serving millions across the United States. Yet Thompson's tenure was not without controversy. Critics often accused him of prioritizing profits over people, pointing to sky-high insurance premiums and mounting public frustration with the American healthcare system. Enter Luigi Mangione, a 26-year-old software developer from Maryland who had no prior criminal record and seemed, until that fateful day, like an ordinary young professional. In the days following Thompson's assassination, Mangione was identified as the primary suspect and subsequently apprehended after a nationwide manhunt. The FBI later described the murder as an act of terrorism, a classification that added another layer of complexity to an already enigmatic case. The juxtaposition of these two figures, a high-powered executive and a seemingly unremarkable coder, set the stage for a gripping narrative. The media swiftly delved into Mangione's background, uncovering what they described as a deep-seated frustration with the healthcare system. Online forums frequented by Mangione revealed posts lambasting insurance companies, pharmaceutical giants, and what he called the commodification of human health. But was his rhetoric enough to explain the leap from online grievances to cold-blooded murder? Thompson's death sparked an outpouring of reactions, but they were far from unanimous in tone. Many expressed shock and outrage, condemning the violent act in the strongest terms. But a troubling undercurrent of grim approval also emerged. Social media platforms became hotbeds of debate, with some users calling the assassination poetic justice, a response that underscored the pervasive discontent with America's healthcare system. Polls conducted in the aftermath of the murder revealed startling statistics. Among young voters, nearly 30% found the act acceptable or somewhat understandable, though they stopped short of condoning violence outright. Analysts pointed to these numbers as a sign of how deeply polarized and dissatisfied the public had become. Healthcare reform advocates seized on the moment to amplify their calls for systemic change, while others warned that condoning such acts could set a dangerous precedent. As Mangione's trial began, the courtroom became a theater of high drama. Observers noted his unsettling calmness throughout the proceedings. Sketch artist Emily Goff, who captured his likeness during the trial, described him as calm and relaxed, a demeanor that stood in stark contrast to the gravity of the charges against him. Prosecutors painted Mangione as a calculated killer who meticulously planned Thompson's murder, while the defense attempted to argue that his actions stemmed from a mental health crisis exacerbated by personal hardships and societal frustrations. The prosecution's case hinged on a trove of digital evidence. They presented emails and online posts in which Mangione articulated his disdain for the healthcare industry. One particularly damning piece of evidence was a journal entry found on Mangione's laptop, in which he detailed his plan to take justice into my own hands.
And whatever laptop computers that he was using to be able to determine what he was doing and make out the interstate commerce part of those elements too.
For the jury, the entry was a chilling glimpse into the mind of a man who saw violence as his only recourse. Meanwhile, the defense sought to humanize Mangione. They painted a picture of a young man burdened by financial struggles, including exorbitant medical bills for his late mother's cancer treatment.
While murder is not something that needs to be glorified in any way, the health insurance industry is oppressive to people.
Medical issues, medical things. And he was heard. And he was heard by a lot of people. And
that's why we're here.
That's why we're here.
Waiting to see when it would really happen. Somebody's straw.
Another shooting in America.
To break the camel's back.
Yeah.
And it was allegedly Luigi. And
They argued that these experiences had left him embittered and desperate, ultimately driving him to commit an unthinkable act. Psychological evaluations presented during the trial suggested that Mangione suffered from severe depression and anxiety, though experts disagreed on whether these conditions impaired his judgment to the extent that he could not be held fully accountable. The trial's most dramatic moment came when Mangione himself took the stand. Speaking in a measured tone, he admitted to killing Thompson, but insisted he did so not out of hatred, but as a message to a broken system. His testimony was both haunting and provocative. "I didn't want anyone else to die because of greed," he said. "I knew it wouldn't bring my mom back, but I couldn't just sit by and do nothing." The jury's deliberations lasted for days, reflecting the complexity of the case. Ultimately, Mangione was found guilty of first-degree murder and terrorism charges. The verdict was met with a mix of relief and further polarization. Some viewed the outcome as a necessary affirmation of the rule of law, while others saw it as a missed opportunity to address the deeper societal issues that had fueled the tragedy. The assassination of Brian Thompson has left an indelible mark on the national psyche. It has forced Americans to confront uncomfortable questions about the state of their healthcare system, the ethics of corporate leadership, and the consequences of unchecked public frustration. For many, the case serves as a grim reminder of what can happen when societal pressures boil over into acts of desperation. In the months since the trial, the discourse has shifted from the courtroom to the streets, the airwaves, and the halls of Congress. Lawmakers on both sides of the aisle have called for renewed efforts to address healthcare affordability and accessibility. Grassroots organizations have mobilized, using Thompson's death as a rallying cry for systemic change. Yet the path forward remains fraught with challenges. Reforming a system as entrenched and complex as American healthcare is no small task, and the shadow of Thompson's murder looms large over every debate. Meanwhile, Luigi Mangione's story has taken on a life of its own. To some, he is a cold-blooded murderer who must be held accountable for his actions. To others, he is a tragic figure, a man pushed to the brink by circumstances beyond his control. His name has become a symbol of both the worst and best of humanity, a cautionary tale about the perils of extremism and the potential for empathy. As the nation grapples with the fallout from this tragic event, one thing is clear: the story of Brian Thompson and Luigi Mangione is far from over. It is a story that speaks to the heart of America's struggles and aspirations, a story that demands reflection, action, and above all, understanding. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into one of the most gripping stories of our time. What are your thoughts on Luigi Mangione's motives or the broader implications of this case? Share your insights in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. If you enjoyed this exploration and want to stay updated on more compelling stories like this, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Let's keep the conversation going.